let's get to this question here. The question is, um, why is it that most people online who go off don't even go to church? That's a good question. I don't know if there's some language here that's used that's absolute. So why is it that most people online? I don't know if that's true that most people online um, go off the rails, or who go off don't even go to church. I get what you're saying. So let's say why is it that there are people who have online ministry, and but there's a disconnect between them not having a church, or as you clarified here, those who go off. I'm referring to, okay, yeah. So those who go off the rails, right? So why is it that those people who are online who go off don't even go to church? Because they really can't go to church, right? And what I mean by that is it isn't that they physically can't go to church, is that they can't find themselves submitting to anyone at a church because of pride. I mean, that's really what it boils down to, is pride. Um, and this is the dangerous thing about pride. Pride can come off humble. Pride can come off justified, right? Because and the thing with pride too is that you can actually, so you could, pride is so prideful that it leaves you feeling sympathetic for it, or for that person, when really they're just being prideful, right? So you could say, well, we've been searching and we've been looking and we just can't find a church nowhere. Now, that may be a genuine statement, right? You don't want to assume that this person's prideful. They don't want to submit, right? But see, we don't know the hearts of people, and sometimes we don't even know all the story. We don't know all the details. Sometimes people just tell us what we want to hear, right? Most times they just tell us what we want to hear. But when you start to peel that onion back, you go, okay, um, well, where do you live? Well, I live in X, Y, and Z, right? So you live in a major city. Okay, well, there's a lot of churches in your area. Have you tried this one? Nah, we don't really like their style of worship. Okay, well, did you try this one? Nah, we've been there, and this is what happened there. Okay, well, what about this one? Yeah, we don't really care for that. That's not, you see, and it's just like, well, you just don't want to be nowhere. Like you just don't want to submit to someone. Nah, see, and the excuses can go on, and so it's much easier to do ministry online. But this is the dangerous part about online ministry or parachurch ministry, is that it isn't that we can't do those things, right? Because those are opportunities for discipleship. Jesus says, go and make disciples of the nations. And we have a unique opportunity in our age to make disciples of the nations, right? Like, there's people in other countries who may watch this video. And who knows, maybe someone gets converted, right? Do a podcast or whatever, right? But when the writers of the New Testament are writing, they're writing to local churches. When the gifts of the Spirit are mentioned, they're mentioned in the context of the local church. Now, that doesn't mean you can't exercise spiritual gifts outside the church, obviously, but they're in the context of the local church that they're to be used. So you can use your spiritual gifts outside the local church, but it shouldn't be at the detriment of not using it within the local church. That's its primary purpose. It's for the gifts to be used within the context of the church. And then it should, obviously now we can kind of spread that out. Okay, well, it should be used in the context of your little church. What is that? Your home, right? That's your little church. A minister is to be faithful in his house. He's to be faithful in his little house. If he's not faithful in his little house, he can't be faithful in God's house. So there's this connection with house, okay, the household of God, and in your house. But you can't have this online ministry and then neglect the church. So I hope that answers your question. It's easy to go off the rails with your online ministry if you're not connected to the local church because there's no accountability. There's no one checking in on you. There's no one that can speak into you, right? There's no accountability. So like accountability, like what? Like okay, uh, I've seen your videos or I've seen your post. They seem to be you fill in the adjective problematic, argumentative, contentious, right? Whatever. Your elders come to you. You say, well, see, they don't get it. They don't understand. It's like, well, hold on. Hold on. These are people who are praying for your soul. These are people who know you. They know your weaknesses. They know your strength. They know your past. They know your troubles. They know your trials. They know this. They know all that. And you entrust yourself to them by submitting to their leadership. But now, as soon as they touch something that you find valuable in your life, because it's your ministry, now they don't know nothing. They don't know. They don't. Now, I can speak to this because I've been in this place before. I have. They don't get it. They don't get it. Our ministries online should submit to the local church. Okay. Now I'm not saying, Pastor, do I have permission to do X, Y, and Z? Now I think that's wise to have a conversation with your leaders, right? Say, hey, I was thinking of starting this YouTube channel. Do you think I'm spiritually mature enough to have this YouTube channel? I mean, that's a good question, right? The, if more people did that, there'd be less YouTube channels. Could you imagine going to your elders and saying, listen, Pastor, do you think that I'm spiritually mature enough to have this YouTube channel? Now, you may be spiritually mature enough, but they may just say, I don't think it's wise right now. Now, just because they said it doesn't mean that they're, thus saith the Lord, right? So, but they're older, wiser men who love you and know you, and so it's a footnote in the mind, like, man, like, not on my elders are saying this. I love them. They're godly men. They know me. If they don't think it's wise, or they may say, yeah, I don't see a problem with that. I think that you bring value. Um, but I have some concerns, or these are some parameters that I would put up that we'd like to see in you. And if there's boundaries that are crossed, right? You fill in the adjective, you become angry, contentious, whatever, fighting, quarreling, all these things, then know that we're going to speak to you, right? Not to like try to put a leash on you or nothing like that, but as a brother coming alongside and caring for your soul, we're going to say, um, that post you put up was a bit much. Um, the way you responded was a bit bitter, right? And that's good. See, but we don't want that. Or not to say we don't want that. That's something that we have a hard time humbling ourselves to accept and to submit to, right? Um, and yet I think that there's an aspect of that that's actually a reflection of our willingness to submit to God. I do. I'm not saying that our elders are God. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is they represent an authoritative figure, someone that has been, if this is indeed the case, someone that has been called by God as his representative to, he's an under shepherd, or they're under shepherds to care for your soul. They love you. They care for you, and so on and so forth. If that is the case, if they qualified according to Second Timothy, it was First Timothy chapter 3, right? Or Second Timothy, I forget the qualifications of an elder, but First Timothy, but right. They meet those qualifications, and this is a church, right? Now, that doesn't mean, they don't line up with me theologically. They don't line up with me eschatologically. Stop, right? Stop. Um, so if that's the case and they're watching over your soul and they see things that are concerning or that may be a stumbling block, maybe they say, you are gifted and you are a great communicator and you would do a great job, but I don't think it's wise for you to be online that long with that pornography issue you got, or with that anger issue you got, or with the or because you always want to be right, you don't really let up, right? And sometimes you get a little nasty and a little ugly. You see, so I think a lot of times, man, if we stopped and prayed first and then consulted others who know us and love us enough to tell us the truth, there's a lot of things we wouldn't do. And that may go into this online ministry thing. Says false prophets despise authority and government. They speak evil. Right. That's right. Of dignitaries. They don't want to submit. That's right. That is right. Yep. Thank you for answering my question. Amen.